Sakamoto Days has officially been confirmed to get an anime adaptation, but it's getting picked up by Netflix. Well, yeah, it's getting picked up by Netflix. There were rumors like earlier that was going to be animated by TMS Entertainment, which, if you're not familiar, they're the ones responsible for Dr. Stone as well as Rent-A-Girlfriend. Yes, the same studio animating Rent-A-Girlfriend, can't remember which season, is animating Sakamoto Days, and people immediately freaked out. You could go all over Twitter right now too, and people were like freaking out. I think they've calmed down since it's officially been confirmed that, yeah, Netflix is going to be distributing Sakamoto Days, and apparently it's slated for 2024 release. And this honestly came out of nowhere because there's been no VAs announced, there's been no like anything, there's no teasers, there's no animation, there's no company name behind it. So it's kind of bizarre, to be honest, that Sakamoto Days is getting an anime but without all the hype. And my dog keeps barking. But yeah, it's kind of bizarre that Sakamoto Days is getting an anime. To me, I'm really cautiously optimistic because depending on what studio is actually animating this, it's gonna determine whether the series is actually even gonna be good or not. And you guys know how like Netflix is with their shows. Sometimes they're hit or miss, with the exceptions of Pluto, Dungeon and Meshi, and Cyberpunk Edge Runners. Those are probably the few anime that have been, for the most part, consistent and top notch. But honestly, I don't know, I'm just pretty cautiously optimistic for Sakamoto Days because I'm honestly kind of skeptical that it's even gonna drop sometime this year, because it doesn't really make sense why kind of hide this back, because people have been wanting Sakamoto Days for as long as they've been wanting Kaiju number 8, Danada, and Spy Family. So it's really bizarre that they would hide Sakamoto Days being animated, to be honest. Now, to me, I'm gonna be honest, I recently got into Sakamoto Days just a few months ago, and I gotta say, this series is gas. It is probably the best thing I have read. If you guys like John Wick, then you will absolutely love Sakamoto Days. That's basically it. It's basically John Wick was made into a manga character, and he literally got old, kind of fat, had a kid, and his dog didn't actually die. That's essentially what Sakamoto Days is. It's basically John Wick, but with a happy ending, to be honest. With a happy ending, if we're gonna be honest. But yeah, I really like this series. You know what's funny? I actually had a video planned about Sakamoto Days needs an anime, when all of a sudden there's an anime announcement for Sakamoto Days, which I found kind of funny, pretty interesting, to be honest. Like, depending what animation studio actually picks up Sakamoto Days, it could actually be either a hit or a miss. I know a lot of people are worried about the whole Netflix thing, because sometimes Netflix kind of fumbles the bag with some anime, such as when the JoJo's anime came out, they dropped all episodes and then the hype essentially died down. And then you had the infamous Record of Slideshow, or Record of Ragnarok, which honestly was one of the worst things I have seen. But I think people were making such a huge fuss about the Sakamoto Day leak, where TMS Entertainment was actually going to animate it. And to be fair, I actually researched who TMS are, and for the most part, they brought us Dr. Stone. Now, their animation quality, it's alright. I mean, it's not the best, but they do a decent job adapting Dr. Stone for what it is. You can't obviously adapt Dr. Stone as beautifully as it is in the manga, but I mean, you gotta give him props for doing it. It's a pretty good show. It's a pretty good show. Rent-A-Girlfriend's like, hit or miss. That's a whole story for a different video, to be honest. But TMS Entertainment, I don't know. I don't know how likely that information is. It seems very skeptical. I don't know, it could be a hit or miss. If this information about TMS being the ones responsible for animating it could be good, but I don't know. Honestly, depending what animation studio, like, it could honestly be such a huge surprise, because we don't know. I'll show you this one tweet I saw on Twitter that kind of explains the thought process. Yeah, as you can see, pretty much every other animation studio has their hands with a certain title, and Sakamoto Days is honestly up for grabs, which honestly you think, I don't know, maybe Production ID or even Science Saru, the people responsible for Dandadan, the upcoming animation, would honestly do Sakamoto Days. Hell, I think Studio Trigger could potentially do Sakamoto Days, but honestly, at this point, I don't really know. Maybe Bones? I don't know what animation studio could actually adapt Sakamoto Days, because it's really fast-paced, it's really action-based, there's a lot of good fight scenes. The fight scenes drawn in the manga are really really good. So it's honestly up for grabs. You know, it'd be funny if Ufotable actually animated Sakamoto Days. Now that would break the internet. Like, that would be such a, but they got their hands full with freaking Demon Slayer and that Genshin Impact anime, if that's ever even coming out. But yeah, that's just my thought process on Sakamoto Days getting an anime. Like, people were freaking out, but for good reason, for bad reason. I mean, yeah, Netflix kind of sucks sometimes, but Netflix, you gotta think about it, it's a big company. They distribute most shows, and as far as anime wise, like, at least in Japan, they distribute anime pretty well. Like, most anime is actually on Netflix over there in Japan. Here we get some good ones, we get some bad ones, but honestly all just depends, because Netflix is a distribution company. For the most part, they do a decent job. I mean, they've had hit or miss shows such as Avatar: The Last Airbender live action, One Piece live action. They did pretty good with that, pretty good, depending on who you ask. But yeah, Sakamoto Days is getting an anime. Are you guys excited for this? I'm honestly really cautiously optimistic, because yeah, we're getting the anime, but the fact that it just came out of nowhere, no hype around it, I don't know how to feel about it. I really like Sakamoto Days, but I'm just honestly skeptical. But I don't know what your 2 cents about this. You guys excited? Yeah.